So you'd like to improve your intonation. That's awesome. Let's talk about what you need to know in order to start working on your intonation in American English. But first, let's give a quick introduction to intonation. Intonation is how native speakers communicate their meaning through their tone. Intonation is key to understanding the deeper meaning behind the words that you hear. Native speakers communicate additional meaning through the rise and fall of their pitch and by stressing or emphasizing certain words in the sentence. In order to fully understand native speakers, you need to be aware of how we use intonation in order to express different emotions and attitudes through our voice. In this video, I'm going to talk about the key elements of intonation that you need to be aware of in order to decipher the meaning behind the words. So let's get started. First and foremost, you need to have an awareness of word stress. Word stress is when we make one syllable of a word longer, louder, and higher in pitch. In order to clearly pronounce words in English, you need to be able to stress a syllable by making it longer, louder, and higher in pitch. Word stress is important in intonation because we sometimes use these stressed syllables in special ways in order to communicate meaning. If you're not already paying attention to word stress, I encourage you to start right now. To get started, I encourage you to sign up for my free email course, Sound More Natural in Just 5 Days at soundmorenatural.com. You can also check out the videos on my YouTube channel that talk about word stress. I'll include a link below the video. So like I said, word stress is when we make one syllable of a word longer, louder, and higher in pitch. Once you start paying attention to word stress, you'll notice that each word has its own stress pattern. A deeper understanding of how the word should be stressed will help you understand if a native speaker changes the stress pattern in order to make a certain point. Next, let's talk about sentence stress. Sentence stress is when we put extra emphasis on the words that carry the meaning of the sentence. If you pay careful attention to the words that receive the most emphasis or the most stress in a sentence, they're not every single word. You'll notice that not every single word receives equal emphasis. And this is because some words in a sentence are what we call content words. They're the words that convey the meaning of the sentence. Other words are function words. They're the words that help you with the grammar of the sentence. They help keep the sentence flowing. In order to understand intonation, you need to know which words should be stressed in a sentence so that your ear can identify if a native speaker is stressing words that aren't normally stressed. We'll shift the stress within a sentence in order to emphasize different words in order to make a point. At times, changing up the sentence stress can actually affect the meaning of the sentence. So if you're not aware of which words are stressed in a sentence, it's time to get started. Deepening your understanding of sentence stress is really going to help you with your intonation because you'll be able to understand when native speakers move around the stress, and you'll also be able to do it yourself in order to create certain effects with your words. Another important element of intonation is pitch, or what I often call pitch variation. If you're not familiar with pitch, I encourage you to watch my video called The Power of Pitch. I'll include a link below the video. In short, pitch refers to the highness or the lowness of our voice. If you listen closely to native English speakers, you'll notice that our pitch changes dramatically within the sentence, and often you can tell by the pitch changes how a person is feeling. Pitch works differently in different languages, so if you're not already familiar with how we use pitch in English in order to stress certain syllables and in order to convey the tone of voice, you need to develop a deeper awareness of pitch. Understanding how pitch can move and change within a sentence will help you decipher the tone of voice. In addition to these three elements, you also have to have a sensitivity to the emotions and attitudes we often convey through our tone. Think about how a person makes you feel when they're speaking with certain tones in English. Pay attention to how you can decipher a person's emotion or attitude based on the way their voice changes. Can you understand the deeper meaning behind their words? Some emotions that we convey through tone in English are happiness, which you often hear in the typical American tone. You can also hear sadness, annoyance, frustration, anger, disgust, impatience, excitement, enthusiasm. There are lots of different emotions that we convey through different tones of voice. When you have a sensitivity to these emotions in people's voices, you're going to be able to understand the deeper meaning behind the words. As you can see, that's one reason why intonation is so important for communicating clearly in English. And as I've been saying, sensitivity to the rise and fall of someone's voice will help you understand what the meaning is behind the words. Before you start working on your own intonation in English, you need to pay attention attention to other people's voices. Listen carefully to a native English speaker, whether that's on a podcast, a video like this, whether you're watching TV shows or movies. Pay attention to the rise and fall of their voice. Start to analyze it in your mind. Ask yourself why the person is changing the pitch of their voice. How is their tone changing? Are they stressing words differently than the way you're used to hearing? A deeper awareness of how people's voices rise and fall will help you create these same tones when you're speaking English. As you start understanding the way intonation works in English, you'll probably notice that you hear intonation throughout a sentence. But if you're starting to work on intonation yourself, you don't have to start with your complete sentences. You don't have to start with every single question. You can start changing your intonation on short words, phrases, or expressions. At times, that's all you need in order to communicate your meaning, just a shift in pitch or a shift in stress on these particular words or expressions. I often encourage my clients to start small because once you start noticing a reaction to the way you're expressing your emotions just by using simple phrases, you're going to be able to expand this awareness and expand this mastery of intonation out to your complete sentences. You have to start small and then build on that strong foundation. This is great news for you if you're still working on your fluency. Rather than trying to get intonation right on longer, more complicated sentences, focus specifically on small phrases at first. As you become more fluent and it becomes easier to speak at length, you're going to use intonation in order to convey certain meaning through your tone. You're also going to be able to use intonation in order to keep people listening so that you're not interrupted when you're speaking. As you can tell, intonation really helps you sound more expressive and interesting when you're speaking English. Intonation will help you fully express your ideas in English, but you have to start somewhere. You have to start with this deeper awareness of word and sentence stress, as well as how pitch variation changes within a sentence. You also have to understand the different emotions and attitudes you'll hear conveyed through tone. And you have to be sensitive to how native speakers are expressing these different emotions and attitudes through their own sentences. Most of the work you need to do on improving your intonation is increasing your sensitivity, which you can do through improving your listening skills. Tune in to the way native speakers use tone in order to express their emotions and attitude, and then start imitating that and doing it yourself. Now that we've talked about what you need to know in order to start working on your intonation, I'd love to hear from you. Have you been paying attention to intonation when speaking English? Do you understand the meanings that native speakers are communicating through their tone? If you want more of my guidance on this topic, be sure to check out the links to the videos included in the cards and below the video. I have a lot of great resources to help you get started. I encourage you to start working on your intonation as soon as possible. Rather than struggling with the details of your accent, focus on how you can communicate your meaning clearly through changing your pitch, shifting your stress, and using your tone in English. If you have any questions about intonation, leave a comment below the video and ask away. I'm going to continue making more videos about intonation in the future. Once again, I'm Kim from EnglishWithKim.com. I'm your guide to the essential communication skills you need to sound more natural in English. I know that using intonation more effectively will help you connect in conversation with native English speakers. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Have a good one. Goodbye!